Welcome, welcome, welcome to the pre-game show for for Collingwood versus West Coast at Marvel Stadium today. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. I hope you get to spend some time with them at some point today, whether you're watching the game with them or seeing them after the game. Obviously, a very special day. How are we all? What are we looking forward to the game? It's a 1 o'clock time slot today at Marvel Stadium. I remember last time we played them in 2022 at Marvel Stadium. I mentioned this in my preview show. We went up against them, and this was sort of the beginning of their debacle as far as injuries were concerned at West Coast. But it just so happened to be one of the fewer games that they won that year in 2022 against Collingwood at Marvel Stadium. Was anyone there? Does anyone remember what happened? It was a debacle for Collingwood. I think it was obviously the beginning of the tenure of Fly, and we were 0-3 that year at some point. Very similar to how this year's been trending early on. And I think we just couldn't kick straight for even if our lives depended on it in that game. Caleb, welcome to the stream, brother. Guys, of course, I do want to mention my partner in crime, Caleb, will not be available today. He's a late omission. He has coaching, so he's got to do God's work and help the kids down to 15s and show them how it's done. Get a win. Hopefully you get the win today, champs. Wish you all the best. But so Collingwood kicked 10 goals, 14, I think, when we played against West Coast at Marvel Stadium a couple of years back versus West Coast, who kicked 14 goals and 3 behinds. They just couldn't miss. Jack Darling, Josh Kennedy, Liam Ryan, Willie Rioli. It just, they were sharpshooters back then. I don't know if you guys remember the West Coast of old from, I guess 2018, between 2018 and 2021, and a little bit of 2022, of course, referring to that game. They just couldn't miss. And it had largely to do with, off the backs of someone like Josh Kennedy, who just would never miss. Doesn't matter where he would be, inside 50, he could snap, he could check side. He had obviously had that trademark run up, the stutter step, but he never missed. So although his routine wasn't the typical traditional run up, whatever he did, it worked. So that's my recollection of our most recent game against West Coast at Marvel Stadium. Last year, however, we absolutely pumped them at Optus Stadium. Nick Dacos took the 3 votes that game. He kicked 3 goals and had 30-odd disposals. So that was nice in Perth. And that was when West Coast were well and truly in the dumps. So they're not quite in the same position that they were last year today. In saying that, there is quite an extensive injury list for today for both sides, really. We'll start with West Coast. We've got Jake Waterman out with concussion, and that's unfortunate. Look, I don't know about you guys, but yes, it's good for Collingwood, the fact that they have key players out like Waterman and Elliot Yeo. But at the same time, I would have loved to see Elliot Yeo fit and firing in the middle against Collingwood's best, which obviously isn't going to be the case today for both sides. It is what it is. I would have loved to see Jake Waterman out there, who's a leading contested mark key forward in the league. I think he's top 5. He's averaging close to 3 contested marks per game, which is up there with the likes of Harry McCrae and Charlie Curnow. And we've seen what those blokes did to us in spurts last week against Carlton. Not to be. We've also got Brody Myercheck, who's out for 3 weeks thanks to a hamstring. And I think he played through it. I think he had done it at some point in the game last week, but usually with these soft tissues, if it's not significant, you can push through it and you're not going to do too much further damage. Once the hammy goes, it's gone anyways. Geordie DeGoey out with the groin. There's positive signs that he'll be back next week, hopefully. And then we've got Tom Mitchell with a foot and a recent bout of appendicitis as well. We've got Jamie Elliott, who is a late out. thanks to some ongoing back soreness, which is concerning in the sense that it has plagued him in his career. And he's had multiple surgeries on his back with some failures in between. So it's a big out, along with Myercheck, the goalie, and Tom Mitchell. And then you throw in someone like Bo McCreary and Lockie Schultz, who are also out. Bo McCreary with that unfortunate concussion. And that was really disappointing because when I saw him starting in that centre bounce against Carlton, I got really excited. And when they didn't list Finn McCrae, it kind of made sense for Bo McCreary to get an opportunity in the middle. Scott Selwood had mentioned multiple times in the preseason and even during the season that he'd get a chance, and that was his chance. And he'd started well. I thought he'd really start well. So it is what it is. And Lockie Schultz out to suspension. He's been up and down this year. His pressure's been good. He's been up and down with his disposal. He's kicking goals here and there, but he hasn't had a statement game necessarily. But at the same time, we need to understand that his role in the team is not to take the world by storm. He's there to fulfill a role, play that forward half pressure game, get behind the ball when we don't have the ball, and make it hard for teams to get out of their defensive half. And I think he's ticked that box, which is the most important thing. Giving up a first-round pick for it in a draft that's pretty comprised with some serious prospects. But, these are the things that probably we won't get a gauge on whether it was a win or loss as far as the trade was concerned until at least a couple of years, I would say. So we've got T Mello in the chat. Who will be the sub? So our ins are, we've got Jack Bytel making his debut for Collingwood. We've got Joe Richards. We've got Finlay McCrae back in. So I would like to see Bytel as a sub, McCrae starting in the guts. Or, sorry, I tell a lie. I think we'll see Joe Richards as a sub. I think Jack Bytel gets to start along with Finlay McCrae. I think it would be an absolute kick in the guts if someone like McCrae is forced to start as the sub once again this year, given he's been deprived of opportunities. Some will say he hasn't taken his opportunities when he's played this year, but a lot of people also say he hasn't been given a proper chance. He needs a full run at it. Give him a few games where he's starting on the field and really find out what his worth is before season's end. And don't deprive him of his confidence and then chuck him in when it's too late, because he's probably still running off some gas of confidence from the preseason he's had. But if he's a sub today and then doesn't play next week, he'll be all but gone. And his VFL performance is always consistent. Like, it's always going to be 30 disposals, 5+ tackles, clearances. But he needs that confidence, and he needs to believe that the team, the AFL squad, trust him in the middle. So this will be a big game for Finn McCrae. Caleb says Bo versus Harley would have been elite to watch in the middle. That would have been amazing. Two powerhouses, Bulls, similar profiles when it comes to their athletic profile. So that would have been good, but not to be. Maybe we get that. I don't think we've versed another time this year, so maybe we get that next year. Who knows? Harley Reid will probably play on. I don't think he'll match up directly with Nick Dacos. Maybe someone like a Finn McCrae. I actually think if Finn McCrae is on the field starting, I think that could be an interesting matchup. Maybe Craig says, "Hey Finn, let's get you assigned to Harley Reid for the game. Run with him when he's in the middle, and then find your own footy as well. Win a hard ball, because that's what Finlay McCrae can do best for Collingwood in the AFL team." What else have we got? What else have we got, guys? I've got a few things to run through, but at the same time, if you guys want to add to this, just put it in the chat and we can have an open discussion. I'm more than happy to do that. And just before I go into the next topic, I just want to say thank you all again for the incredible support on the Nick Dacos documentary. I think we're at 20,000 views for that video. So if you haven't watched that yet, get around it. And if you haven't subscribed, maybe consider doing so, because I will be releasing a Scott Pendlebury documentary on the 2nd of June, which is a Sunday at 5 p.m. So get ready and looking forward to that. and have that ready on your TV and grab some popcorn or whatever that may be and get on the couch and enjoy that. Calculated psycho, that's the question I had in mind. I think you're referring to Caleb's question, Frampton centre forward. Look, sometimes before the game, Billy Frampton being listed at centre forward might not be the case. I think from what I had seen online that Jeremy Howe had trained forward line during the week, and we know what he's done in the past. He played against Carlton last season, and we were down by a few goals at three-quarter time. Typical of Collingwood to be down and try to embark on an incredible comeback, which was almost the case. He kicked 3 goals in the quarter for Collingwood against Carlton, and he looked very promising. So we know he's got that up his sleeve, and it's a break glass in case of emergency. I would much rather see Jeremy Howe play forward in lieu of Billy Frampton today, but the fact that Billy Frampton is listed at centre half forward, who knows? Maybe he's the one who does swing forward. I think we'll be a bit short if he goes forward, but at the same time, West Coast are short this week without Jake Waterman and Oscar Allen, of course. They'll just have Jack Darling as their main target, and they'll look for players like Liam Ryan. I actually don't know a bunch of the small forwards for West Coast, to be fair, but Harley Reid will roll forward at some point as well. So maybe we do go a smaller back line and we do put Billy Frampton in the forward line to stretch their defense, which is a high caliber team defensively with the individuals in that defense with Jeremy McGovern, Tom Barrass having an amazing season. I think they had 7 intercept marks between the two of them last week against Essendon. And Essendon, no pushover. They convincingly and comprehensively defeated GWS yesterday. So we know just looking at the results, and I know West Coast are missing players today, but so are we. And I think you guys are going to be in for a shock. I don't think we're going to be putting 6 goals past West Coast in the first quarter. I think this game is going to be up for grabs very early, and it's going to be a hotly contested game. And it's going to be one of those games where everyone's got to be switched on. And I think the boys, they need to be ready for what West Coast are going to bring. They're not the same team they were last year. So, yeah, I'm interested and a little bit anxious for the lads. Woody, what's going on, mate? You're on early. Yes, early game calls for an early pre-game show. I did go out last night as well, unexpectedly. I went out for dinner on Chapel Street and then went to Wolf and I and coincidentally bumped into the Hawthorn team after their impressive win against St Kilda in Launceston. And what a shambles St Kilda are right now, really. You go back to the game where they defeated us and Ross Lyons coming out all with his chest out proud in that post-game press conference saying, everyone's figured out Collingwood, blah, blah, blah. Well, the tables turn. Now look how silly that looks, given Collingwood's position and form versus where St Kilda are at. So that's funny. Mate, I was at Wolf, left because of the Hawks players. Woody, yeah. Why'd you leave? The ladies were all attracted to the Hawthorn team, and you had no attention, or what was that? That was a good night. I did speak to Dylan Moore and Will Day, and I said, "What's different with you guys the last few weeks?" And Will Day put it pretty bluntly. He goes, "Just moments, mate. Just winning moments in the game." And that's probably the best way to go about it. So just win your moments, and that translates to every team. Win your little moments, win your contests, and that will make up the context of every AFL game or any sport or anything in life, really, from a philosophical perspective as well. Moments. Take it step by step. Manny Costo, welcome, mate. Good to see you around. No fucking around today. Just get the job done and get into 8. Ross the boss. Yeah, Ross is... I love listening to him because he's quite peculiar in the way he likes to articulate his thoughts. So I do appreciate what he brings to the AFL world in what's quite dull in the media lens. And that's why I hope you guys like coming to these streams, because we try to give you a bit of character and say things unhinged and unfiltered. We don't want to hold back on topics, and we want to have transparent conversations. And Ross does that quite well, considering his hands would be somewhat tied, being in the face of the media world on mainstream media. You can't say and do certain things, whereas here we have a little bit more autonomy when it comes to those things. Manny, do you still have your TV from last stream? Yeah, so Manny said if Mason, I think he said last stream, if Darcy Cameron starts in the ruck over Mason Cox against Carlton, he's going to throw his remote at the screen. So I want to know if that actually ended up transpiring. Thank you to the 20 concurrent viewers in the stream right now. What's everyone doing for Mother's Day? Is anyone going to the game? Are they watching with their mothers? What are you guys doing? What are we doing? What else have we got for you guys? So for those who don't know about Joe Richards, he is we picked him up a couple of years ago. Quite a young fella, a very small forward, would fit the profile of what a small forward embodies these days. So he obviously looked for him to play forward, kick goals. He kicked 6 goals against Brisbane in the VFL a few weeks ago. So he does have a knack for it. And he kicked 3 goals on his left foot and 3 goals on his right foot. Actually, for a certain point, for a certain period of that game, I didn't know what foot he was because he was so competent on both sides of the footy, which was nice to see in a world where people only have one foot when it comes to playing AFL footy. Manny, Caleb, lucky we got the win, or would have had to go back to Harvey Norman. If we lose today, the whole house is getting destroyed. La Manny. Yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to what Joe Richards can bring to the team. I would suspect he would need to have an impressive game to hold his spot, given the level of competition in the small forward department. Obviously, we play with 4 small forwards in most games, and that's Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, Bo McCreary, and Lockie Schultz. So for Joe Richards to hold his position, he's going to have quite a game to hold his spot in the AFL team. Nevertheless, though, he'll take a wealth of experience from this opportunity that's been given him, and sometimes it's handy to have these players who have a chip on their shoulder to prove their worth in a game where, if we have our established squad in the team, sometimes you take these games too complacently, and that hinders, obviously, and it permeates in the team and spreads like a disease. And everyone plays flat. Whereas you got players like Bytel, Finn McCrae, Joe Richards coming in, and they all are hungry for a spot in the AFL team. So they're going to lift that intensity from the start, and they're not going to take this lightly. And it's just natural sometimes to take things a little too lightly when you're playing a lot lesser opposition that are playing away from home. So, yeah, that's what it is. And I think we've got a good combination in our team where we've got players who need to prove themselves, and experienced heads like Pendle, Sidebottom, Howe, Jack Crisp. And these players will hopefully get the job done today. Would love the game to get iced early, but in saying that, I don't think that will be the case today. I've been loving what West Coast have been about, and they've took it up against serious opposition so far this year. In the Collingwood game, I just want to give some flowers to Jack Crisp. He had an amazing game. Did he get any coaches' votes? He got 4 coaches' votes. And for those who don't know how coaches' votes work in AFL, both the head coaches have 15 votes each to spread across the game. So it's a 5-4-3-2-1, and Jack Crisp got 4 votes. Nick Dacos taking 10 coaches' votes. So both Fly McCrae and Michael Voss gave Nick Dacos their 5 votes each. But Jack Crisp had 4 coaches' votes. He had 23 disposals, but I believe 17 of them were contested, which is massive. It's great to see him, see Crispy back into that sort of level of form, sort of what he was able to produce on a consistent level in the final series, in particular last season. So that was great to see. Pendles was good as well. He was impressive. He had 3 coaches' votes. He collected 20-odd disposals, kicked a clutch goal, and nullified Patrick Cripps' impact around the stoppages. So it was really, really promising. And I mentioned in the pregame the week before that while Carlton are good at scoring from stoppages, they also conceded quite a bit, and we doubled their score in stoppages on last Friday. I think we had 44 points scored from stoppages. And for those who don't know what scores from stoppages means, is obviously if there's a boundary throw in or a centre bounce, if you score directly from that play, then it attributes to the scores from stoppages. So that's where that comes from. And Carlton absolutely dominated Melbourne on early this week in that realm. So it's an important score source, and West Coast are very good at that. However, similar to Carlton, they also concede a lot from that element. So hopefully Collingwood can continue to score from stoppages and do well in that caper. And Nick Dacos is developing quite the knack of scoring around the stoppages. Both his goals last week were from stoppage plays. So, and he just moves. He moves around in that stoppage. He's never flat-footed, and he's clean. He never fumbles. And those two things put together is what makes you such a threat around the stoppages. Okay, Charlie Dean did have a good game yesterday, champs. He had an amazing game. I think he had 25 odd disposals. He was the MVP for the VFL game, as attributed by the coach, the VFL coach, and Josh Fraser. So he wouldn't be too far off. If Billy Frampton drops in form, then that's the next man to come in. And it was harsh for Charlie Dean. Yes, he didn't play well when he had his opportunity early on, but no one played well for Collingwood in the first few games. So he was sort of not a scapegoat, but changes had to be made, and he wasn't performing well. So sometimes you've got to move the needle and make some changes. And I think he has a future in the AFL team. There were some nice things he did in the AFL team when he was playing. He had some nice moments of composure on the ball. So we know his ball usability and his composure is there. It's just more his defensive things. I think he had 9 intercept marks as well yesterday in the VFL, which is huge, absolutely huge. It's a monster game really in a losing game against the Northern Bull Ants. So I hope to see him at some point this year as well. Well, Vicky, who was coaching us when we lost to West Coast and Marvel last time? Fly McCrae. It was Fly McCrae early in his tenure, from memory, in 2022. So, and we were, like I said earlier in the stream, we were 0-3, I think, that year. And we were just on the mend at that point. And that really stunted our position in the ladder after that game. Will Hoskin Elliott needs to stay out forward, finding some of that 2018 form. Goal of game player, great on the wing though. Yeah, I would rate him as a goal of game player, but it's just tough being that third key tall at the moment. He had an amazing game against Port Adelaide, but hasn't done much since. And he's versatile, can play wing, he can even play as a third key tall back, really. So he's a versatile player. He has missed to fix it, but he can be inconsistent. But at the same time, that is likely because of the role he's asked to be played in as well sometimes. Pendle's wounded back the clock for sure. Brilliant player. I hope he gets to 400. I do too, Digsby. And like I said, guys, I'm doing a documentary on him on the 2nd of June. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited to get it out. I've done some work on it already. So that will be good fun. Tanzan, West Coast is our bogey team. Hope we go well today. In recent times, yes, they have been our bogey team. I would say our perpetual bogey team is Hawthorn in my lifetime. I'm 26. So in my lifetime, I've experienced a lot of heartbreak watching Hawthorn and Buddy Franklin destroy us, and particularly like 2012 when we lost all our meetings with them. We lost against them in the qualifying final, and then we lost to Sydney in the prelim. So a lot of memories of heartbreak and angst watching Collingwood versus Hawthorn. But we've had some moments against them as well in times. So West Coast, obviously the 2018 grand final. Let's not go there. Maybe not today. I'm too hungover to be reminiscing about the year that was in 2018, albeit probably a year that has brought us to the year 2024, premiership in 2023. So everything happens for a reason. What else have you got? Let me check my notes, guys. 23 viewers in the stream right now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Liam Ryan, guys, he has not hit his strides yet for West Coast, but does anyone in the chat remember how good he was 2-3 years ago for an extended period of time? He was the best small forward in the game, in my opinion. So much craft, so much aerial ability. He took that amazing mark of the year on Gorney's shoulders at Optus Stadium, and he just has that aura around him. When he gets the ball, he knows he can do anything he wants with it, and he can lace up any target. He can feign plays. He can sell candy. He's got it all. Unfortunately, he's been hindered by injuries as of late. I would say the last 18 months or so, he's been really hindered by that fact. But as just a general AFL lover, and yes, I love the Pies, but I also love seeing other people with the story and overcoming adversity and coming back to the form that they have previously been immersed in. It's just good for footy. It's good for AFL. You want to watch high quality players playing at their very best level, and it's even sweeter when you beat these players who are playing at an all-time level, because you can say, "Hey, yeah, we beat West Coast and we beat Liam Ryan, who kicked 4 goals and had 2 goal assists." It's just one of those things you want to. It's a feather in a cap beating these teams who have players who are playing so well. It's like with Harley Reid. I'm sure Nick Dacos is going to want to have a big game and just remind everyone who the best young player is in this competition and has been so for the last few years, and just sort of humble Harley Reid today. And it's not going to be by way of a Dusty Don't Argue from Nick Dacos to Harley Reid, but maybe Nick Dacos can outrun him and see how that goes. Did you see Fly and Mick's interaction regarding staggering our retirements in regards of Steele and Pendles? Champs, I didn't. Where was this? And I'm going to have a stab in the dark. So is he suggesting that we should retire our vets slowly and maybe transition them into a coaching role as well? Where was this? Did anybody else see this? Let's face it, it could go either way with so many. Steve, thank you for your input. I do see your comments all the time in the YouTube videos, so I appreciate your support. You're always one of the first to comment, so I just want to say thank you for your ongoing support, and I love having you in here. But yeah, you're right. It could go either way. And I said early in the stream, it's handy to have these young players who are unproven for Collingwood coming in, because they're going to want to prove themselves. Digsby, Tom Wilson and Jack Madgen were in the starting 22 last time we played them. I wouldn't be too worried. 50-50 game, though. Tom Wilson had a really good game against West Coast. I think he kicked the goal, had 20-odd disposals. That was probably his best game in the AFL before he had back surgery, and he's now playing NBL, I think, or NBL 1. So it was actually one of his more impressive games. Jack Madgen, he was not my favourite player, but he did play with wearing his heart on his sleeve the whole time. So loved Jack Madgen for the energy he brought, but he probably was never truly an AFL level player. And maybe talks to the fact that why he's not in the AFL now. I don't know where he is now, actually, to be fair, Jack Madgen. I don't know if he's playing in the VFL, if he's playing local, if he's gone and played basketball as well. I don't know if he has a basketball background. I'm not too sure. Split over 2 years. Okay. So staggered retirements over 2 years. Yeah, I wouldn't want. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? You wouldn't want to have Steele Sidebottom, Jack Crisp, Jamie Elliott, even if you want to add him into the conversation. All these experienced heads, Tom Mitchell, you probably don't want them all leaving at once, because we've seen what can happen when you cull all these older players. It's going to significantly impact your win-loss record for the years that ensue after that. Yep, agree on the Madgen assessment, playing in a sample for Crows. Okay, so he's not an AFL contract, but he's playing in the sample for Adelaide's seconds team. I wonder how he's performing if he gets a look in the mid-season draft. I don't know. Is he from Adelaide? Because that would be interesting. Because if he's from Melbourne and he's moved to Adelaide to play footy, then you can only imagine he has an endeavour to return back to AFL level. Pendles, Sidey, and Howe all want to go on, and Cox is contracted for another year. but we need to blood the next gen. Tough calls to come. Yeah, and we do get caught up in the week-to-week performances of these vets, but I think generally speaking, they are still playing a role that warrants their position in the team, and then the experience, and the wisdom, which is an intangible. You can't measure that in the statistics in the box score at the end of the game. But yeah, we do need to blood the next gen, and these are the type of games that actually present the opportunity to offer these chances to the young players like McCrae, like Joe Richards, like Reef McInnes. Guys, is Reef McInnes playing? I'm pretty sure I saw him listed, didn't I? I know Ed Allen was on the extended list. He didn't get named. Am I right in thinking that Reef is playing today, guys? Let me see. Let me see if you guys beat me to it. I'm popping up my AFL app. I'm going through the team. He's in. Reef McInnes is in with Finn McCrae, Jack Bytel, and Joe Richards. Yep. And I think Digsby mentioned that Joe Richards or Jack Bytel is the sub. So that's good to see in the sense that Finn McCrae will be playing in the middle to start the game, which is huge, massive game for him. I cannot overstate how big of a game this is for Finn McCrae. He's 31, referring to Jack Magin. So just depth, you think, yeah, probably so. Yeah, 31 is getting on. Maybe just helping bleed in the prospective AFL players for Adelaide. What else have you got for me, guys? Sorry, Tamsin, you asked the question before. Do you think not have? If I show this, okay, that's handy. I'll put that there. How about that? Yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. Do you think not having a key position forward this year will be an issue? Do you think we will find to recruit someone like Richmond Geelong did for Lynch and Cameron? Oh, is anyone else of the concept that key tall forwards aren't as important as they were maybe 5 years ago? I feel like this game is really starting to mold into a small to medium forward game just because of how high everyone plays up the ground and looks to get back on the counter attack. I think you don't have to be too you got players like Jamie Elliott, Toby Green, Tyson Stengel if you want to throw him in, like Liam Ryan when he's in form. These players can all jump at the ball as well as being elite at ground level. So I don't know how important. Like, we won the flag without a recognisable key tall. Yeah, McStay helped us in that prelim and was massive, but I just don't know if it's mandatory or super conducive to winning a flag. Who won in 2022? Geelong with Tom Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron. So yeah, like I guess there's different strokes for different folks. There's many roads that lead to Rome. But to answer your question, Tanzim, I think if we were to go for someone, you'd be looking at someone like Harrison Petty, who's a free agent, but he is from Adelaide, playing for Melbourne Demons, so maybe he goes there. I'd love to see. I mean, we don't have anyone in our stocks really that fits that profile of a key tall forward. What do you guys think? We'd have to get someone from free agency, really. I mentioned Oscar Allen in one of my videos, but that's more of a blind hope, I guess, because he's been a West Coast fan since birth. He's a co-captain of the team, but never say never. Maybe he wants to come to a club, and West Coast are a big club as well. So what am I saying? But maybe he wants to come to Melbourne and experience a different lifestyle. Who knows? Do we have anyone else in mind as far as free agents? Because I know obviously we're looking at Bailey Smith, we're looking at Luke Davies-Uniacke. So there are players in the midfield that we're probably looking to fulfill that role as Tom Mitchell and Pendles get older. So we'll see. We'll see where the free agency takes us the next couple of years. Thanks for that question, Tanzim. Let's go to the next one. Digsby, Harvey Harrison could be a future steel side bottom replacement apart from the alliteration. Sidey started out a forward. So cool little mirror of a career. I reckon he'll be a star. He's been quietly very good, Harvey Harrison. He plays a very smart role as a winger. I've noticed times where he's played that defensive wingman role and he's been clean in our D50, which is massive to begin our strings of attack. So that's been really promising for Collingwood for Harvey Harrison, and he's gotten on the scoreboard as well, and he's finding the ball, and he seems to cover the ground pretty well, which was one of our question marks. Would he be able to run up and down the wings at AFL level? And it's funny how that works, right? Like, he hasn't set the world afire at VFL level, but when you get the opportunity at AFL level, obviously there's that natural, I guess, spark to lift to a level that you haven't been at before, but you're also playing with better players who will naturally lift your game in that sense as well. So I think Harvey Harrison has a spot in the team all year long. Even if he has a couple of bad games, I think the way he's been playing, his fundamentals of the game are sound. So I think there's a spot for him for the season. Future wingman, perhaps? Yes. Digsby, yes. Steve, how you going, mate? Yo, we're looking at Lob too. Yes, we are looking at Lob. I don't love that. I don't love that. I'd rather not go for him. I think he's like, he'd be nearing on 30. If not, he's on the other side of it already. I don't think we need him. Darcy Cameron and Mason Cox, they're all similar players. And I would argue Darcy Cameron's better than Lob. And I don't think it's worth splashing cash on Rory Lobb to bring him in. What do you guys think? Do you think Rory Lobb's a fair option? I don't think so. He's playing VFL at Western Bulldogs. I don't think he's worth it, to be honest. Respectfully. Next question or statement. The team drafted a midfielder and 2 as a defender. Is it time to draft a key forward? Good question, Ben. I don't really love the free agency right now for the key tools. Like I said, there's Oscar Allen, there's Harrison Petty, there's Sam Taylor, who's a backline. But the problem is we don't have a first rounder this year because we took Lockie Schultz last season. So we're going to have to wait at least another year to look into the draft for a key tall forward. And then you have to think about how long it takes for young key tall forwards to become established. You only have to look as far as Ben King, Max King, Hugo Hagen, Aaron Cadman from GWS. These players are all prospective, generational key tall forwards in our game right now who are multiple years into the system and are still not hitting full throttle just yet. So that's a really long-term play. And I think given our circumstances and our average age in our team right now, we're probably not in a position to be brewing a young budding key forward for our team. So I don't think we're quite there yet. Thanks for that question, Ben. It's a tough one. Do you think Lockie Schultz needs to lift? Maybe, Debuck. I think there's been moments where his ball use has been average, but his prime role for the team is to defend as a forward half player, and he does that very well. And if we're asking for anything more than that from him, we're probably being a bit naive. He's a pressure player, and I think he averaged close to 2 goals a game last season, which you're probably not going to get in a Collingwood side that already has Bobby Hill and Jamie Elliott, who are doing that as the prime small forwards for our team. I don't think Lockie Schultz has the dazzle that Bobby Hill has. I don't think Lockie Schultz has the aerial capacity that Jamie Elliott has. So I think we just got to temper our expectations for Lockie Schultz. But in saying that, was it worth giving up a first-round draft pick in a stacked draft this year? I don't know. You tell me. Time will tell. Caleb says lobby spud. What does that mean? Am I? Oh, yes. Rory Lobb is a spud. Well, couldn't have said it better myself. I think, look, spud maybe not worth the hype of trying to acquire him. I think, he's a pretty boy, and I think Western Bulldogs can keep him, respectfully. Steve, good question. Do you reckon we give Johnson another crack? Probably so. He played backline for the last couple of weeks in the VFL and did okay. He's kicked a couple goals here and there. I think yesterday he played forward because of the need in AFL to bring some forwards up in Reef McInnes and Joe Richards. So naturally, Ash Johnson would have had to play forward yesterday. I think he kicked 2 or 3 goals for the game yesterday against the Northern Bull Ants. So that was promising. So I think there is an opportunity for him. And similar to Charlie Dean, give me 1 second, guys. I'm a bit dehydrated from a few drinks last night. Excuse me. Ash Johnson. Yeah. I think he does play in the AFL again this year. Similar to Charlie Dean, he was playing in a period of time where the whole team was playing like garbage. So you take it with a grain of salt, his performances in those games. When your whole team doesn't play well, and as a forward who depends on quality ball movement, you're not going to get the best version of Ash Johnson if your team's not playing well. But the biggest hindrance of his game, or that will be that holds him back, and I wonder if you guys notice this, but his pressure around the ground isn't there. And there were moments when we played GWS, I think St Kilda, Sydney. It's early in the game, and he's just not applying the pressure that you'd expect to see from someone as explosive as Ash Johnson early in the game. You really want your players. If you're playing for Collingwood, you have to be a pressure player. That's the first thing you are if you play for Collingwood. You're a pressure player, and then everything else follows suit. He's got some magic in him. I actually spoke to Jordan Lewis at one of the Collingwood's trainings in the preseason. I went up to him and I said, "Hey, mate, what do you reckon between Krugs, Reef, AJ, who do you think gets a nod this year? Who has the biggest season?" And he was bullish on Ash Johnson, as everyone was. He says he's got that. What's he got? He's just, when you see Ash Johnson in some of the moments throughout his game, he's just got that X factor. But it's just a matter of putting that all together and finding some consistency in his game. And when his career is over, it'll be a matter of, did he find that consistency in his game? Thanks for the question, Steve. Digsby, I'll pop this one up quickly. Lobby is a spud. Thing is, for AFL teams, will give you 10 years to show something. If you're small, you have a small window to show something. Correct. Yeah, Josh Shackey and Sam Wiedemann are perfect examples. They've hung into the AFL because teams hope that they can reach the heights of what they were promised to do coming into the league. So that's a good point, Digsby. Thanks for that, mate. Manny, everyone hit the like button and subscribe to this man's channel. I just hit the like button for that mustache manicured widely. Mate, this is an excuse of a mustache, if I'm being honest, Manny. This is the best I can do. This is the only facial hair I can grow, so I'm holding on to it very dearly. And if I shave this off, I think I will have minus viewers for my stream next time we are live. What else have we got, guys? Digsby coming in with all the questions. I love it. Oh, sorry, Ben, just quickly. Jesse Hogan would be great right now. He would be, but he's probably one of the best key tall forwards in the league right now. So I think that ship has sailed. And I'm so happy for him because he's got a story behind him as well. He really does. He's had some troubles with his world outside of footy. A few party narcotics here and there for Jesse Hogan back in the day, and probably hanging around the wrong crowd. And that's changed significantly. He's moved out of Melbourne, which probably played a big role. I know he went to Perth initially, but in Sydney as well, where footy is not a big focal point, I think he's probably just found the right environment. He's got all his ducks in a row, and now he looks unbelievable. Such a great mark on lead. He's a big figure, and he's a dead-eye dick in front of goal. Okay, Oleg is 28, so do you think he gets a year-by-year contract or a 2-year deal? Halfbacks have sharp declines after 20. See Taylor Duray, Brodie Smith, JJ. So I think he's a year-by-year proposition. I would offer Oleg Markov a 1-year contract, and I think he offers more than what he gives us on the ground as well. I think he gives us a big culture shift, and he's been a big part of that for Collingwood. You can see his energy just permeates in the locker room, and we probably can't speak to it enough because we're not there on a day-to-day basis. But I'm sure if you ask anyone that is immersed in that Collingwood helm on a day-to-day basis, they'll tell you how important Oleg Markov is to the club. Steve, does Kruger play this year? I think so. And he's going to be the type of player that's not going to set the VFL alight because he's such an effort player. So he'll be that type of guy where if we need someone to fill a role, an absence, he will come in and do that job. And I think as he gets some continuity, I think he's going to need 12 to 24 months to fully hit his straps. You have to remember he's only 25 years old. So there's an opportunity for him to really establish himself at AFL level. It's just if his body allows him to do so. Do you guys remember that prelim final against Sydney in 2022 where he came on and we didn't win, but in that run we had, he was really important. He was just throwing himself across the ground, putting himself in dangerous positions for the betterment of the team and to give our team a crack. I remember that game because I caught a bus there and it took us 10 hours to get there. That felt like 2 hours. And then I went with Caleb actually and another mate, Jason. And the trip back, we were going against headwinds. It was pissing down rain. It was the worst bus ride of my life. And it felt like I felt like I went to Europe and back in 12 hours. It was horrible. And I try to forget about that. Devac, I'm going to post this. Johnson has a great aerial presence, but he lacks pressure, like you said. He may be a good Myercheck replacement if that effort comes along with someone similar to Carl Langford. I don't think Ash Johnson will ever be a great pressure or contest player like Myercheck. I think they're different types of players. But someone's going to replace Myercheck eventually, right? He's only getting older, isn't he? So it's a good point you mentioned. But they're different players, aren't they? 12:32. We're starting at 1 p.m, guys. Is the bounce at 1 p.m. or 1:10? I would suspect it's a 1 p.m. game. So 27 minutes to go before the bounce. Got to go, Coach Champs. On AJ, I echo the comments. Got the X factor, but he's got no two-way running once the ball is turned over. Good luck, Champs. Hopefully we can get you on the pre-game show next week because I'm sure they are missing our air raids on the stream. Good luck, man. All the best. What else have we got, guys? Any more questions? While you guys think of some questions, I'm going to look at what else I've got on my sheet here that maybe I can talk to a little bit more. What have we got, guys? What have we got? I think we've really covered all grounds, to be fair, from a preview standpoint, right? Do I have a TikTok? I do, Steve. I do have a TikTok. I love Pies footy, no spaces. And I just post reels from our analysis. And a question to you guys, I'm going to do a review for the West Coast game as well as I usually do. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do the video analysis of moments in the game per se. It'll be more like the preview where I'm just talking to the stats and really having a conversation through the camera. Do you guys think it's such a point of difference that I should continue to do the video analysis of the games? Like, would you guys be upset if I wasn't doing that on a consistent weekly basis? Or will you guys be more than happy to watch me talk about the games rather than showing you moments in the game? I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think? What else can I pop up, guys? What else have we got here? Let's go to the West Coast game from last week against Essendon because there was a lot to like about West Coast. Tim Kelly, he had a massive game. He collected 5 coaches' votes. So he would have got 2 votes and 3 votes respectively. So he had a massive game. He was the highest rated player in the West Coast versus Essendon game. He had 29 disposals and 14 contested possessions. So maybe someone like Jack Crisp would be a great matchup for Tim Kelly in the middle today. He had 2 goal assists as well. So we know how much of a great kick Tim Kelly is going inside 50. So we're going to really need to be cognizant of his ability going inside 50. And like I said, I think Jack Crisp is a perfect player to match up on today at Marvel Stadium under the roof. Digsby, it's always funny when Channel 7 gets the blowout games like Tigers and Bulldogs and Foxtel get the close games. I haven't noticed that, to be fair, but I usually just watch all my games on KO, to be honest. But wow, what a debacle it was for Richmond yesterday. 100-point loss, conceded over 70 inside 50s, a big Saturday night game, and I think they had a bunch of injuries. I think Did Rioli do his ACL? Maurice Rioli, did he do his ACL? Or is that more of an MCL mechanism that happened late in the game? And what happened to Jack Graham and Banks? What happened to them? Yeah, massive injury toll. Absolutely. Tom Barrass was the second highest rated player for the game against Essendon yesterday. So like I said, Jeremy McGovern and Tom Barrass collected 7 intercept marks together. He had 10 contested possessions, 11 intercept possessions, 4 intercept marks. So he was amazing against Essendon, against a team like Essendon, who have Peter Wright and Jake Stringer and Kyle Langford in the forward. And what a deadly trio they have. So Essendon are becoming a serious team. And that game against GWS yesterday was no fluke. And it isn't sport funny. Like, just less than 10 games ago, they lost by 100 plus points against GWS, and they've turned around and beaten GWS comprehensively yesterday I think it was at Marvel, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a funny world sport, and we've seen it at Collingwood, right? In 2017, we were largely uncompetitive, and then we make a grand final the next year. In 2021, we were horrible, shocking year, one of the worst years to date in my lifetime for Collingwood. The next year, we make it into a prelim, and then the following year, we win the grand final. So it's amazing how quickly things can turn around. Just a bit of delayed gratification can do so much for the club or for the sport. Syndesmosis ankle for Rioli. That's good to hear. The fact that it's not an MCL or an ACL, that's promising, and for Richmond, in maybe you'd consider that a silver lining, right, for Richmond, considering the result. Hamstring and concussion, respectively. Okay. Stealth Ninja, how are you doing, Anthony? Good, thank you. I went out last night. I went out for dinner on Chapel Street in Melbourne. And then one thing led to another. We went to a bar and bumped into the Hawthorn team there, which was funny. And now we're doing a pre-game show on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the lovely mothers there. Mum, if you're watching, I don't know if she's watching, but happy Mother's Day, Mother. I'll see you later today. Imagine if we had, I've got to pin this. This is a great comment. Imagine if we had Tom Langdon and Nathan Murphy both playing in the same team. I feel like the hole that Tom Langdon left for Collingwood was much bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. I thought he was one of our best players in 2018. And I feel like he just got swept under the rug as far as the conversations were concerned regarding his absence. I feel like we just forgot about him. And it's not a knock on the fans or anything, but it's just interesting to see how there wasn't a lot of commentary about his forced retirement. It was so unfortunate because he had the potential to be one of the best defenders in the game, and he was that for that year in particular. And then Nathan Murphy, we've seen the hole that's been left in his team. We're still trying to make amends for that. Yeah, we've got Billy Frampton who's filling in the plug right now, but boy, it would be good to have someone like Nathan Murphy in our team right now. I'll say that much. Thanks for that comment, Steve. That's a great comment. Digsby, let me have some more water. Goodness me. Do you think Hawkins pulls the pin in the next month? All the signs of a 2023 Buddy Franklin season are a few wound back the clock performances, but other than that, slow and old, gone, one too many. Hot take. That's an AFL unpopular opinion, mate. That's a good one. It's a hot take. That would shock the AFL world if Tom Hawkins was to pull the pin in next month. I think Buddy's problem was his body was letting him down. And I think he retired after he did his hammy, and he realized he was holding back the future generation of Sydney, because there were players like Hayden McLean, Joel Amati, and Logan McDonald who are primed to take Sydney to the next level and take their game to the next level. So I think it's contextual. I don't think Geelong have players waiting in the stocks to come in and take over as that next key tall forward at Geelong. So it's contextual. It's a different situation. I don't think he will retire. I don't think he'll retire till at least the end of this year. And if not, he might have another season in him. His form's been down, but it's only been 6 weeks where he has been unimpressive. I think when you're that much of an established, impressive, prolonged player, I think he has the benefit of the doubt for a little bit longer before considering dropping him. I don't think he's anywhere near that just yet. I could be wrong, but that's my take on it. Dixby, Scharenberg, such a shame. Was a talent when he didn't hurt his knee. Love Langers, their third tall defender is cursed. Yeah, it is a bit of a curse, isn't it? Scharenberg was good. I think Scharenberg had a bit of a run in the team, but he was never quite the same, right? Because I think he got delisted. He didn't do his knee again, did he? Because I know he had obviously a few knee recos, but yeah, a few knee recos, but I feel like he had a run in the team and he probably just didn't reach the levels that he had been promised to do so early on in his career. Am I wrong in suggesting that? AA187, do you go to games? Good question. I do, but just given what I'm trying to do with the YouTube channel and with the recent, I guess, introduction of the pre-game show, and I want to do a post-game show as well, starting next week. I think I'm going to be watching most games from home. I do like going to the games, but I actually prefer staying at home. And I am a member. I do just want to make sure I've got the 2023 Premiership pin. So I am a member. I'm a paying member. I support the team from a monetary standpoint, but I do prefer watching the games from home. I don't like taking public transport. But in saying that, I went to probably 10 games last year, but this year's going to look a lot different just because of the things I want to do with you guys on YouTube. I love doing this before the game, having a yarn with you guys, getting your thoughts. And you guys are teaching me a lot in these chats as well because, I look a lot into Collingwood and everything in between. But you guys are, some of you guys are older than me. Some of you guys have different points of interest when it comes to Collingwood. So when you bring things to me, guys, in these chats, I learn a lot from you guys, and I'm able to expound on these things to other people who wouldn't be aware of this. A lot of this information I'm just like almost downloading, and I can take this into my stories with other people about Collingwood. So it really helps me as much as it may help you guys, just being able to sit down and have a chat before the game. Thanks to AA187. Steve, often Tom Phillips was a gun. He had a great couple of seasons as one of the great wingers in the league, but unfortunately probably just didn't recapture that form of 2018. He dropped off big time, went to Hawthorn, didn't take his opportunity there, and now I think he's playing VFL. Will Hoskin Elliott would be a superstar if not for the Essendon game in 2018. Changed his walking mechanics. Was originally feared to be an ACL. Hot take, I know, but he was never the same goal-wise. Digsby, we love hot takes. We really do. That one's a wild one, man. Like to suggest maybe an injury has changed his walking mechanics and has completely altered the way he approaches games. I don't know. I mean, my theory is, Digsby, if you're able to get to the starting line before the game, before the bounce, you are considered fit and firing and ready to play. You put your hand up to play, you are there to do a job and you are there to play at your best. That's the facts. And playing sport myself, if I put myself on a field, there's no excuses. If I'm carrying an injury and I decide to play, it's on me. If I don't play to the standard that I need to be playing at, that my team needs me to play at, then that's on me. No excuses after the game. I learned that very young. When I was at Melbourne City playing as a goalkeeper for their reserves team, there were times where I'd put my hand up to play being injured. And then after the game, I'd be quick to, if I had a bad game, I'd be quick to say, hey, I had a groin injury. I couldn't kick, or I didn't have power to dive to my right and save that ball. Nobody cares. It's brutal, and it's brutal, but it's the truth. Like, there are other players who want your spot, and if you put your hand up to play, you need to play your best. And your best isn't, what's your best when you're injured? It's what's your best is your best, period. Yeah, Sam Murray. I think he's playing local footy at the moment. He's playing really well at local footy level, Sam Murray, so that's good to see. He was slid under by Mitch Brown. It was during the game. It wasn't his fault. In-game injury, yeah. In-game injuries are a very real thing in sport, right? I think with footy as well, it's a 360-degree game. So it's one of those ones where there's a lot of contact that you will run into without being braced for. Whereas like rugby is a harder sport. The hits are massive, but you're prepared for most of those hits because it's in front of you. You don't have to worry about what's behind you. But I'll tell you now, the worst feeling about being on a footy field is when the ball is in the air and you're going back with the flight of it, and you know there's players coming full steam ahead behind you and they kill you. Worst feeling. SC 22-36-3. Thank you for your comment. I don't know, but is Cox really worth it? He lacks the footy knowledge to be a genuine champion. I'm not bagging the guy, but there's something I feel that he could improve on. Rucking for a start. Hey, this is an open forum, SC. You don't need to preface it by saying you're not bagging the guy. It's completely warranted, mate. Like, it's completely fine. I'm not gonna put you down or ignore you for saying something that might not be other people might not like. So be comfortable in saying what you think here. It's a safe space. Coxie is so on and off, isn't he? I think he does enough to hold his spot at the moment and has done so in the last 18 months or so. He's never going to be a genuine champion. He's a role player. And he's not a true ruckman either, but he's definitely developing a bit of a knack in the ruck department. He's got some good taps up his sleeve. Sean Rustling was another unlucky player. Could have been a gun. What year was that? What year was he drafted? AA 187. I actually have never heard of him, to be fair. Speaking of in-game injuries, the 22 Bulldogs thought it was good in hindsight. More dislocated, imagine shoulder accidentally making sure it doesn't reach his trigger for 20. That's funny. BH, go Eagles. Hey, all the best, mate. I hope for a good game. I think West Coast are going to bring it to Collingwood. They've gotten the wood over Collingwood in 2022 at Marvel Stadium, which was our last game there against West Coast. So I'm looking forward to a good game, mate. I wish you all the best. For Murphy to get a game and establish himself as a key member of our backline. Okay, sorry, you didn't finish it. Okay, yeah, it did open a door for Murphy to establish himself as a key member of our backline. Yeah, it did. And it's the butterfly effect, isn't it? You know, one little moment leads to another moment and so on and so forth. So, good point. Harley Reid is going to hurt someone. I'm okay with that. I just don't want it to be Nick Dacos. I don't want to see Nick Dacos. Actually, hold on. I don't want to see Nick Dacos or Scott Pendlebury get dusty, don't argued by Harley Reid today. I'll be very sad. I'll be very sad, man, if Harley Reid takes down Scott Pendlebury with a dusty don't argue. That will ruin my day. It will ruin my day. It will ruin Mother's Day. 10 minutes to bounce, guys. So we'll keep this going for another 5 minutes, and then I'll let you guys get ready to prepare for the game, and then we'll unwrap it in a review. Didn't Murphy get drafted as a forward? I actually don't know, Steve. And this is why you guys are here, because you guys might know a little bit more about these things than I might. He will flip him off if it won't work. BH, are you from Perth? Are you a West Coast Eagles fan from Perth, or do you support someone else but just prey on the downfall of Collingwood today? Sean Rustling was drafted in 2004. Interesting, AA 107. I will definitely have a look after or some point today about Sean Rustling. I'll check the trusty Google and Wikipedias to learn a little bit more about this Mr. Sean Rustling. He was the same height as Checkers and was tried as a wingman that moved into defensive. BH from Perth. Welcome, mate, from Perth. I'm sure you would know Jesse from True Footy / True Eagle. He's a good man. We do talk on a frequent basis, and he's really, really given me some good advice on the YouTube scene. And He's a reasonable West Coast supporter, so I actually really like listening to his thoughts about West Coast on his True Eagle channel. So he's a good man. Shout out to Jesse. If you guys don't know him, I'm sure a lot of you might. He has a channel called True Footy. He has 30,000 odd subscribers. One of the godfathers of AFL YouTube, and he's now got a True Eagle channel. So yeah, here we go. Digsby. The Prince of Perth ain't playing Dom Sheed. Always plays like Gary Ablett Jr. against us. Yes, that is true. When I hear Prince of Perth though, Digsby, I think Alex Solo. Do you not? Fazzy boy. What a character he was. I loved Alex Fasolo. He was one of my favourites while he was at Collingwood. Really, such a character. BH, I'm not going to live stream the game. I've got things to do, but two, I'm not going to live stream games too often. I actually enjoy watching the game in my own space and just sort of just immersing myself and being present for the game. But I'm going to do pre-game shows and post-game shows. Today, no post-game show because of Mother's Day, but I will, from next week moving forward, we're going to do a post-game show as well. So before we get going, guys, another 4 minutes to go. Will you guys be interested in a post-game show moving forward? Is that something? Do you guys like to gather our thoughts together after a post-game and have a chat like this? Is that something you guys would be interested in? I know Blue Abroad, the Carlton fan channel, they do that and they have some great success in getting some engagement in those type of post-game shows. So I'm definitely keen to try that starting next week. So that'll be a good one. Okay, hey bro, Dom Sheed made us win a cup. He did. He stripped my heart out of my chest and was broken for a very long time, BH. Anyone know why James Aish left us? I'm not too sure. Maybe we didn't give him a contract that he was hoping for, and then Longmire went over to Fremantle and saw value in bringing him across. Braden Sire was a gun, and he fell off big time. I don't think, from what I've gathered on social media, I know this is a bit of a reductionist way to look at it and probably not the best way to go about it, but it didn't seem like footy was his main focal point in his life. And when you're playing AFL, it almost has to very nearly be your life. You have to live and breathe it. And I don't think Braden Sire lived and breathed AFL footy. Devac, I also would have loved to have seen Geordie De Goey versus Harley Reid today, but not to be. In saying that, the anticipation will be far greater next time they match up because they're not matching up today. Yeah, good point. Good point, Devac. Good point about that. But there'll be matchups there that we can look forward to regarding De Goey, Harley Reid. Like I said, Pendles, and I think Harley Reid plays on Finn McCrae and probably might even match up Nick Dacos at points throughout today. Digsby, good old fill in. Yes. Probably case in point regarding his commitment at AFL level, playing basketball in season and using the name fill in. Probably not the smartest move, but, priorities, right? Guys, we've had over 20 viewers for this whole stream. This has been amazing. I think we peaked at nearly 40 concurrent viewers today. So that's promising to see. Guys, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I do a bunch of different types of content. Documentaries have just been a new introduction, previews, reviews, and bits and pieces here and there. And pre-game shows and post-game shows will be a part of the smorgasbord moving forward. So, guys, thank you so much for joining today. Go Pies, and I hope for a good game. Hopefully it's not a close game so that we can have a bit of respite from all the anxiety that we've had to endure as early as recent as last week against Carlton. So I'm going to leave you guys with it. Happy Mother's Day, and we will see you guys very soon. Goodbye, everyone. See ya.